Town Council meeting to order. Our first order of business is the invocation. We have the distinct pleasure of having the Reverend Michael Carr from the Oak Ridge Methodist Church giving the invocation. The microphone's yours. Please stand as you're able.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this wonderful day, for the beauty of your creation, for all the flowers, and as spring comes, we see the trees budding. We see that you are at work. We ask that you would continue to work in us. We thank you for all the ways that you have blessed us so that we can be a blessing to others here in this wonderful town of Oak Ridge. We thank you for our mayor and all of our council members. We are grateful for all the volunteers who serve here in this town and support all the wonderful community events that we have. We come now asking for your wisdom, your holy guidance for the business that is at hand, for the decisions that will be made here tonight. May we continue to share your love with others because you first loved us. For we pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. And we have the pleasure of a local scout to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilwoman Snyder, would you introduce our
Yeah,
scout? I believe
thank
have
you.
something to do with her.
This is Elena Broughton, and she's in my Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge class, and she's part of Troop 219G. They meet at, they're part of Scouting America, and they meet at the Presbyterian Church, and I'm so glad you're here tonight.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next order of business is approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. We have approval of minutes. We did receive some of the minutes a little late, so if you'd like to exclude any of those minutes, let me know. But is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 6th, the January 7th, and the February 27th joint BOA Town Council meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We do not have any resolutions, proclamations, or announcements. We do not have a representative from the sheriff, I believe, but the crime statistics are in the back if you'd like to review them. We do have a report from the Oak Ridge Fire Department. I believe Sam Anders is going to provide that. The chief had to step out for duty called.
Yes, I was just listening in. The tank fire is a controlled issue over at Epps Trucking and Hilco in that area. They occasionally have to flare off some gas, and someone saw it and called it in that one of the tanks was on fire. So they just cleared everybody just a few seconds ago. So fortunately, nobody exposed. I'm Assistant Chief Sam Anders, Oak Ridge Fire and Rescue, batting substitute batter for the chief. During the month of March, we ran 89 incidents, a total of 30 EMS calls out of that 89. We had 13 where we were dispatched and canceled. Then we had assisting invalid, alarm system with no fire, 5 motor vehicle, 3 service calls, 3 medical assist with EMS, and then a scattering of other types of calls, gas leaks, medical assist. Grass fire, we had 1. Building fire, we had 2, which fortunately everything ended up being handled very, very quickly. For training for the month, we had 383 hours of training. For a safety message for this month, I just called out the grass fire. We had a lot of unattended fires last month. Most of them was someone that was riding down the road, saw smoke, and called in with a red flag. We try to encourage everybody when it is dry. I know you may have brush, I know you may have leaves, but please do not go out and burn. The red flag is there for a purpose. Guilford County did send some assistance to Polk County up in the mountains and Transylvania County. I do know that some Greensboro crews ended up all the way in Transylvania County. So an innocent little, in the case of Polk County, I was told it was a cigarette flipped on the side of a road, and then it ended up burning hundreds and hundreds of acres, and dozens of fire departments were going out for it. So we asked everybody to be careful, be considerate. Just because it's a pretty day, if the grass is dry, for God's sake, don't burn. You can check on our website. There's a link that will take you to State Fire Marshal's office and the Forestry Service. And the forestry guys, if they come out, they will get upset and they will write you a ticket for illegal burning. So we just asked everyone to please help us keep everyone safe until we get, the burn ban is technically off right now, but I wouldn't burn anything on my farm right now. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. This opens up the first section of public comments. I understand there's quite a number of people that want to speak on a particular topic. To save me from pointing around, picking you and things like that, I would suggest that everyone that wants to speak, please line up and then take your turn. Basically, you get 3 minutes to speak on any topic. I would encourage you, if you're speaking on the same topic, please try not to repeat what someone else has said. We just ask you to state your name and address, and the floor will be yours. So if you're planning on speaking, I ask you to line up right now, and the first person can speak.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I suggest that you might want to let anyone here to speak from community organizations speak
I
first?
apologize. Okay, is there anyone from community organizations that would like to speak first? Yes. Thank you for that, and I apologize. I miss seeing you back there. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. My name's Angie Williams. I'm with Oak Ridge Military Academy. So a couple of things that are happening. Tomorrow we are doing promotions. So you guys may or may not know, we do OCS and cadre at least twice a year. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not used to a microphone. I usually just yell. So we do cadre and OCS, which is basically Officers Training School. In order for them to receive promotions and to be part of what we consider leadership, like the battalion commander, the XO, that kind of thing, they're in charge of the Corps. They have to complete a weekend of physical activities, like they go through the obstacle course, they carry logs up and down the steps in one of the dorms, like it's pretty intense. And then the next weekend, they do book academic things, like how many steps are in a count. It's pretty intense, and I don't have to do it, thank goodness. Anyway, tomorrow we're doing promotions at 1:15. We invite the community to come and see. Not only are they receiving their ribbons for completing the cadre, we have about seven kids that are being promoted to the next rank because they have done well. So the other thing that I wanted to remind everybody about is that we are doing a golf tournament in May. That is May 16th, which is a Friday. We always use our annual golf tournament. It's at the Blair Golf Course in High Point, sorry. 9 a.m. is registration, 10 a.m. is tea time. The funds all go to the cadet scholarships. You guys may or may not know, we have a day student option that is open to anybody in the state that's willing to drive their kid to the school. So scholarships are really important for our kids. So this is why we do this fundraiser. Graduation is May 17th. So 16th is the golf tournament, 17th, 10 a.m. is the graduation. You are welcome to come see. We usually have it in front of Maple Glade. It's a beautiful ceremony. They do a saber arch, you know, kind of the whole thing, and they're all in their dress whites. But it's our way of recognizing our seniors and saying, you guys did a really good job. But that's all I came to tell you.
Thank you as always.
Thank you, Angie.
Anyone else have any community updates? If not, now I'd open it up just for general comments. And again, if you're going to speak, please line up so I don't have to pick on you.
My name is Ron Ray, and I live on Stafford Mill Road in Oak Ridge. I oppose the Williams Company's pipeline through Oak Ridge because I love Oak Ridge and my community. Williams generates millions of dollars in profits for shareholders every year. Over the last 5 years, Williams stock has increased in value 3 times more than the S&P 500. They have achieved this financial performance in part by utilizing land free of charge to transport their product. Many citizens pay annual taxes on the right-of-way after the pipeline, made the land worthless over 70 years ago. Many Oak Ridge citizens are newcomers to the area, and most are vaguely aware of the existing pipeline through our town, or even their backyard. Some will see the long open right-of-way bounded by trees, backyards, playgrounds, building, and such that stretch over many humps into the horizon. After approval of the pipeline, there will be much digging, land scarring, tree cutting, dust generation, and destruction of our right-of-way landscape. We will all get to see the huge 42-inch pipe above ground before it is laid into the trench. We will then get a fourth yellow pipe protruding from the ground to designate the fourth pipeline. Some citizens will try to imagine the result of the small leak of the big pipe and even the small accident on the right-of-way. Some will wonder if a massive methane gas explosion could happen in their backyard. Others will be happy to see the big pipe buried out of sight. I fear these visions will deter citizens from feeling secure living here. I feel newcomers considering buying a new home in Oak Ridge will be deterred from living here. I feel new businesses will see Oak Ridge as a risky locale for investment. I fear that folks visiting churches, daycare, schools, and gathering places will feel safer elsewhere. I feel a leak or an accident near the pipeline area. If only a few of these fears materialize, Oak Ridge will be a less desirable place to live and work. Property and home values will be reduced, homes will become vacant, businesses will close, and the tax revenue will be reduced. Citizens will no longer be able to enjoy the beautiful parks, sports facilities, and walking paths. The town and facility services will be reduced. Growth and expansion could very well end here. I only hope the best for Oak Ridge. Thank you.
Council, I apologize. I was not able to time that speaker, but I will begin timing from now on. Everyone else.
Just state your name and address, and then the floor is yours.
Yeah, my name is Doug West. I'm at 2703 Colton Drive here in Oak Ridge. I live in the Stonehenge neighborhood. The current pipeline goes right through our neighborhood. I work out of my house. My wife works here in the community, and we're concerned about the new proposed pipeline coming through for all the reasons that you mentioned before. But also, I think there's a lot of other opportunities that Duke has to power these data centers, whether going to renewables, solar, different things like that. And I would just voice my opposition to this pipeline coming through our community when there's other ways, safer ways to get that energy. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eddie Wellendorf. I don't live in Oak Ridge, but my mom does. She lives about a minute walk from the pipeline that's there now.
We still need your address.
What, 7910 Pate Drive. I really want you to consider this resolution because so many people don't know. There's two neighborhoods, one that's just lots that are getting prepared, and a brand new neighborhood right across the street from Pate Drive, and nobody knows about it. Like, it's just kind of like they're sneaking it in there. And we need to make people more aware, and you need to be aware and really consider this because it's just a big bomb. It's an environmental hazard. Like, what positives are besides growth? Like, we're big enough. Oak Ridge is a beautiful place, and it's getting destroyed by industry and profit. So I really want you to kind of think about it and, you know, exactly what he said too, you know what I mean? We're ruining this, and we don't, what's the purpose and gain besides the big machine making more money? So please consider this and what it's doing to Oak Ridge and the environment. Thank you.
Good evening. Austin Goldman, 5403 Barrier Ridge Court, Oak Ridge. And I'm speaking as a concerned citizen in opposition to the expansion of the gas pipeline. Also, I'm here representing Oak Ridge First Baptist Church, 2445 Oak Ridge Road. And our church has come out with a position statement in opposition to the expansion of the pipeline, which I'd like to read. The Oak Ridge First Baptist Church opposes the proposed expansion of the Transcontinental Gas Pipeline due to the increased risks it poses to its members, Oak Ridge town residents, and members of the surrounding communities. Also, if anyone has any questions in regard to what would a massive gas pipeline explosion look like, go ahead and Google the Malaysia gas pipeline explosion that occurred 2 days ago. It was a massive pipeline. It exploded. It sent a mushroom-shaped gas cloud 20 stories high in the air. 145 people were injured. So it can happen. Our church is basically coming out on the basis of safety. We oppose it on the basis of safety and not economics. Thank you.
Good evening, Teresa Wellendorf, 7910 Pate Drive in Oak Ridge, and I think everything or most has been said, and I just want to add my voice to the voices that have already spoken regarding the opposition to the pipeline. Thank you.
Claire Spear, come from Hillsborough, 2410 Timber Oak Drive. Yes, 2410 Timber Oak Drive, whoa, in Hillsborough. Good to see you all again. I'm speaking tonight as a professional in the field of organizing and advocacy. I'd like to re-emphasize why passing a resolution of opposition is not a meaningless or symbolic gesture, as some of you may believe, but an important act of advocacy that carries weight and is within your purview as municipal elected officials. This action is far from symbolic or meaningless. Rather, it is one that has been proven by data to have a ripple effect of influence. I'll just give you 3 examples real quickly. First, when the elected leaders of a directly impacted community take an official stance against a pipeline or other infrastructure project, it makes a case for state-level electeds to challenge the places where federal regulations lack within this infrastructure building process. This is a proven step of demanding accountability, and it successfully happened several years ago in North Carolina with the Mountain Valley Southgate Pipeline. Second, local resolutions have been instrumental in holding pipeline operators accountable. In the Northeast, a similar Transco expansion project was abandoned after federal approval. Local and state elected officials passed resolutions of opposition and spoke publicly against the project. They did their own research and found that Transco's own claims of need were false, and then they acted to hold Transco accountable. Third, if Williams Transco knows that you're skeptical of the project, they're gonna have to be on their best behavior for you. This action creates a call for accountability and responsibility. If they think that they're being welcomed in with open arms, that accountability can fly out the window. This is why it's so important for you to leverage the power and the voices that you have. Lastly, I think we can handle it here if I may speak in a neutral matter on the current political environment. Whether you feel positive, negative, or neutral about it, we are seeing political power shift away from federal regulators. And this power has to shift somewhere. We need, right now more than ever, for local officials to step in and fill these regulatory gaps. Who else will advocate for our communities? We can't leave the very intricate and unique needs, desires, and goals of Oak Ridge, or any community, in the hands of profit-driven corporations. There may not be certain local regulatory systems set up yet, but it has to start somewhere. If local leaders don't step up to take the reins, then we will be handing over the lives of future generations to CEOs in a faraway office somewhere from everything we care about. Let's envision and create a better future. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Shelby Miles, and on behalf of St. James AME Church, located 6709 Sandy Lee Road, I'm here to make a statement on behalf of the church in opposition of the pipeline project. As the oldest Black congregation in the town of Oak Ridge, St. James AME Church has long stood as a pillar of faith, resilience, and stewardship of our community. Our ancestors tilled this land, nurtured it, and built a legacy that we, their descendants, are called to protect. Therefore, as the newly appointed pastor of St. James AME Church, I take seriously the sacred charge to safeguard the life of this church, both in spirit and in truth. With this responsibility, I join our community as well as our congregation in opposing the proposed expansion pipeline project, which threatens not only the health and safety of our members, but also the well-being of Oak Ridge residents, neighboring churches, schools, and communities. This town, known as God's country, and this land is sacred ground. It holds the history of so many people, the legacy of churches like St. James, and it also holds the legacy and the ancestors' cemetery, the St. James Cemetery. To allow this expansion is to risk irreparable harm to the land we have faithfully cared for and to the livelihoods of those who call this community home. For these reasons, St. James AME Church stands firmly against the proposed pipeline expansion and calls upon all who value justice, creation, and the dignity of human life to do the same. Thank you for your consideration.
My name is Diana Garrison, 8103 Falcon Trail, Oak Ridge Landing. I spoke a few months ago. My concern is I live right across the street from it, and when we moved in, we didn't know that. We're new to the area. They said, this will be great. Nobody can ever move across the street. They just said, oh, it's a little pipeline. But it's kind of like, in a way, a dirty little secret, I think. Oak Ridge is so proud of their historic area, and then to let this in. But of course, my major concern is I live right by the Methodist church, and I can hear those children out every day playing. I can hear the church bells. What happens when they start to dig? That playground is right there by the path where the pipes are. Are they going to have to take the children in? Will they get to? Are they going to notify the church? So I'm asking the city council to stand with these people. If not you, who? Who is going to help us? You guys are going to make the difference for us. So please stand with us. That's why we come to you. If not you, then who will help us? So we're just asking for a resolution against this new pipeline. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jane Foy, 2328 Oak Ridge Road. I stand in support of all the comments that preceded me. As a pediatrician, I want to add one further point, and that is my concern about water contamination, both during the installation and if the pipeline should fail in any way. As you all may know, children are much more sensitive to these kinds of environmental contaminants than are adults. And we have, of course, was mentioned, the preschool, but also the academy in close proximity. Our property is continuous with pipeline. It's immediately behind us. And we have grandchildren who visit. I'm concerned about them as well. Thank you for your consideration.
I'm Terry Hammond, 1815 Oak Ridge Road, Oak Ridge. I've also spoken to town council about this 2 months ago, and also to the Guilford County Commissioners. I oppose the proposed pipeline. I don't live adjacent to it, but I pass through it regularly, and I fear the negative impacts that this could have on not only my safety, my friends, neighbors, people who come to Oak Ridge to shop at our shopping center and go to our town park. Like Jane Foy, I'm also very worried about the safety of our wells and drinking water, and I worry that the construction that is crossing streams and going underneath ponds and not only just the contamination from the construction, but the possibility of a leak contaminating the water supply is very real. And we're in the water supply for the city of Greensboro is fed by Beaver Creek, Reedy Fork Creek, the mighty Haw River, not far from where you live, Commissioner. When the original pipeline was constructed, there weren't all these housing developments and churches and so forth so close by. It was out in the middle of the woods, and there wasn't really a reason to be concerned about it. Now these pipes are 70 years old. The construction of this new gigantic trench to hold the even larger pipeline is very worrisome. And Williams Transco does not have a very good track record safety-wise. I spoke with a sister in South Carolina, and as soon as I said the name Williams Transco, she was like, oh no, they're awful. So it's not just around here, it's like nationally, they have a bad rep. Also, I'm a owner of a Guilford County Historic Landmark property, and I serve on the Historic Preservation Commission for the county. And this project impacts several National Register properties, the Charles Benbow House, the entire Oak Ridge kind of town core, the military academy, and when Williams Transco says, oh, it won't have any effect, well, it might not have an effect when they're doing the construction of the project, but if the thing ever exploded, our historic resources would be wiped out. And that's something that I really fear. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Salmon. I live at 8505 Merriman Farm Road. I'm opposed to the pipeline for safety reasons, not just for myself, which we're in the 1,100-foot blast zone of one of those pipes. Currently, there's 3 pipes in the ground, a 30-inch, or excuse me, 2 30-inch and a 36-inch. From my understanding, the blast zone for a 36-inch pipe is 1,100 feet. If one of those pipes blows, you don't think the other ones are going to go? What does that blast zone for all 4 look like? As the ladies spoke before, some of those have been in the ground for over 50 years. Okay, they're going to leak. As a construction manager and a project manager for different highway jobs, I've had the opportunity to install water lines, sewer lines, storm sewer lines, gas lines. They all leak at some point. They will rust, they will come apart. When those leak, they go into the groundwater. When one of these leaks and the gas ignites, it could cause severe devastation. I was also on a project that was 3 miles away from one, just outside of Richmond, Virginia, in Goochland County, which was a primary rural county, and the pipe burst on a farm. Nobody lived around. We were 3 miles away, and we had to evacuate half of the project. The project was an 18-mile project. We had to evacuate 9 miles that we were working construction on a pipeline that blew up 3 miles away. It is not fun. We couldn't go back to work till the next day. In this case, the population density is high enough that it's going to affect everybody, not just the people that are within 1,100 feet like me or whose property is on it. It's going to, the blast zone, so your is going to increase, and you're going to take a risk of extending the power of that blast by adding another pipe to the equation that's going to blow at the same time. So we're only asking you to have a resolution. We're not asking you to fight our battles. We're just asking you to join in the fight. So please do the right thing. We appeal to your sensibility as town council that is representing all your citizens and as human beings for the safety of us all. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Wellendorf. I don't live in Oak Ridge anymore. I used to. My mom lives at 7910 Pate Drive. And I'm also opposed to the pipeline. Like my brother said before, it's a giant bomb. It's incredibly disconcerting, you know, especially because I have my mother right there, and along with all the rest of the residents who've lived here for years and years. I grew up here, and I don't think everyone's taking into consideration if those pipes happen to burst and there is, you know, an explosion or whatever. Think of the incredible resources that you're going to need. I work with the Guilford County Sheriff's Office, and you're going to need manpower from them. We're already short as it is. You're going to need fire. You're going to need EMS. Everyone is short right now, and that's just putting more detriment and danger to the citizens who are in the area that's going to be affected. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak? If not, I'll close out the public comment session. I know it's a little frustrating. It's not a public engagement period where we talk back and forth to you. So public comment is where we hear from you. And if there's going to be any response, it'll be later in the meeting, typically when council members make their comments. So I understand it's a little frustrating, but that's how we work here. Okay, we're now going to hear, we were scheduled to hear a public hearing for an amendment. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Mr. Manager, and then we'll probably take a quick action on that.
Sure. I would just refer to the staff report, Mr. Taylor's staff report, which he indicated the Planning and Zoning Board continued the case at their last meeting and would request that the Town Council also continue this public hearing to a date certain to allow the Planning Board to hear the case in response to some concerns that they raised that Mr. Taylor is investigating.
All right, if you're going to make a motion, you have to include that it's going to be date certain, which would be our next regularly scheduled meeting, May 1st. That avoids us having to re-advertise it. So there's a motion to continue this?
I move that we continue the text amendment to May 1st, our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Town Manager's report.
Well, I actually have 3 items for you this evening, 2 updates under any other business. But the first item is to consider approval of the appointment of Brad Rents as an alternate to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Adjustment.
Is there a motion to approve or deny the approval of the appointment of Brad Rents to the as an alternate?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I'd also like to provide a brief update on the 68 and 150 intersection project that DOT has scheduled. You'll probably notice that in the last week or so, some work zone signs have been popping up around the town core. We actually don't have a firm start date yet, although we're in contact with the DOT office regularly, and once they know when the contractor will be here to start work, we'll know and we'll share that information widely. But I would expect that in the next month we'll see work begin. We have been told that the project, while the project runs from 68 on from Linville Road up to 150 and then west to the 2 driveways for Oak Ridge Marketplace and Oak Ridge Commons, they will be starting work at the 68-150 intersection.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I would also just like to remind everyone that Town Council has a special called meeting that's scheduled for Monday, April the 7th at 1:00 p.m., and that'll be here in the conference room at Town Hall. The purpose of the meeting is to consider a new athletic field usage policy and an updated facility fee schedule. Also, a discussion on ORYA, the Oak Ridge Youth Association's past due balance, and an update on the park entrance master plan lighting and landscaping.
All right, thank you. We're moving on to new business, approval of the 2025-26 capital improvement plan. Do you want to add any comments to that to Mr. Bruce?
Sure. There is a resolution in your packet adopting the Town of Oak Ridge 2025 to 2030 capital improvement plan. This is a planning document that's designed to program major capital expenses over the next 5 years. Of course, Council will recall that you discussed and approved a working spreadsheet of the plan during a special work session on February the 12th. The document that's in your packet and the associated resolution summarizes that spreadsheet and presents the CIP in an approvable form.
Before asking for motion, is there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the 2025-26 capital improvement plan?
I move that we approve the 2025-26 capital improvement plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just for the folks that have been contacting me routinely, you'll notice in the capital improvement plan that the Phase 2, which is the sports courts, have once again been continued to future years. Our next memorandum will be talking about that. This is a project that needs to be moved forward. I will be voting to approve the capital improvement program, but I'll also be stressing that we need to move this project forward.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say this is a solid plan for capital spending, that's big construction projects, that builds on long-term planning by this and previous councils. We do want to move forward on Phase 2 of Heritage Farm Park, but right now, we don't have the money for it, and we really can't borrow it because we are already paying on a $2 million loan on the same land for the construction of the Heritage Farm Park. And the state board that oversees spending and borrowing, the local government commission, simply wouldn't allow us to take out another loan on the same property. It would also, just from a common sense perspective, increase our debt load to almost 25% of our operating expenses, which is simply, you wouldn't do it in your household. Well, I wouldn't anyway. So I don't think we should do it here in the town. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
So if we wouldn't do it in our household, we wouldn't spend $925,000 to remodel a $60,000 house. So the Redmond house is where the money's gone, and I just want to point out that these arguments have gone round and round and round, but they can't go unanswered.
No, they can't go unanswered.
Time, please. Let members
Sorry, I
finish
thought
their
he was
comments.
done.
I'm done.
It's a $650,000 project for which we received $380,000 in grant funds, and it's a great investment in our community. Thank you.
And a sports court would be a great investment in our community.
Yes, it would. I agree.
Okay, I think points have been made. Were we ready to vote? If all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have it. Now we have consideration approval of McGill Associates proposal for Heritage Farm Park Phase 2 design. Any comments you want to add?
I'll just note that at the January 9th, 2025 meeting of Town Council, they instructed staff to begin the process of securing a firm to design Phase 2 of the Heritage Farm Park, and also to ensure that the consultant who was selected would make the design grant eligible. We have a proposal from McGill Associates that would design Phase 2 with public input and have it be eligible for Part F funding. The proposal includes an update to the Heritage Farm Park Master Plan for Phase 2, which specifically includes tennis and/or pickleball courts and a basketball court. A community recreation needs survey is part of the scope, as well as a design workshop with stakeholders. The final conceptual design will also include cost estimates. McGill Associates was selected for the initial design and engineering of Heritage Farm Park through a rigorous RFQ selection process, and this is an extension of that contract. The proposed scope would be completed in 90 days for a lump sum fee of $10,000.
Is there a motion to approve this proposal?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? Mr. Greason?
No discussion.
Mr. Stone?
On Heritage Farm Park 1, we budgeted that at 1.7. We spent $5.3 million for walking trails, playground, let me think here, parking lot, and 2 fields. $5.3 million for those elements. We spent money on things we shouldn't have spent, but here we are. There's no reason that we can't come up with the money to do the sports courts. This is the first step in the process, and I commit that I'll stay on top of this to make sure that it gets done. The citizens have asked for it. We're going to do a survey to figure out what we're supposed to do next and what the interest is. I encourage every citizen to get involved in it. Thank you.
Mr. Harton?
Nothing else.
Ms. Snyder?
My one concern with this project is I would like to encourage council and staff to hold off on the community survey portion of this until the early fall, since if we approve it tonight and it moves forward immediately, we would be trying to survey residents when half the town is vacationing. So I would like to I would like to encourage us to put that off. And I'd also like to say, this town doesn't waste money. Heritage Farm Park was a fantastic investment, built over 5 years during a period of incredible inflationary pressures. And McGill and Barr have done a fantastic job on that project.
What I'm finding in researching this and talking with other towns that have done this, and even my brother's town up in New Jersey that did it, I spoke with the local council there of what it costs to put their pickleball courts in. I also spoke with the county commissioner who is connected with the Parks and Rec. And one of the reasons why I think it's critical that we hold off on any decision about when we decide to do this is because regardless of all the numbers that I've gotten, and regardless of all the numbers everyone else has gotten, until we know what the design is going to be, we really have no idea what it's going to cost, whether it's $800,000, $400,000, or $1 million. For example, the costs of putting pickleball courts in at Burr Mill have been referenced. Well, the county's going to probably have to spend about $500,000 renovating those pickleball courts because they weren't put in properly. They were put in over existing tennis courts. The surfaces are degrading. They're having drainage problems. So what we don't want to be caught is with a design that doesn't take all that stuff into consideration. So I don't know when we can afford this. Right now, money is tight. I share similar concerns about whether or not if we were to borrow this money is whether or not what that would do with our financial standing. But magically, if the design comes out and we can afford it, we'll move ahead with it. If when the design comes out we can't afford it, then I can't in good conscience move forward on it. But I would say let's wait until we have the design before we say we can or can't afford it. Until you know how much it's going to cost to renovate your kitchen or how much it's going to cost to go to Disney World, it's a little difficult to decide whether or not you're going to go to Disney World or whether or not you're going to do a kitchen design. So I would tell people, let's wait until we find out a good estimate of what it's going to cost us before we say, hey, let's move forward with this, or how we might finance it, or such. As others have said, it's important that we're fiscally responsible and that we also have a good design that meets the quality that Oak Ridge is asking for so that we don't have to renovate them 2-3 years after we put them in. And also so we address issues such as noise. Noise is a significant issue with pickleball. Now, you can be flippant about it and say, who cares? That's just noise. Well, it's serious. Noise that comes from pickleball is a serious consideration that if you really research it, you'll find a lot of towns have to deal with the noise. So that's why let's have some patience, let the design run its course, and let's find out what I think it's going to, what it might cost, and then we can make some responsible decisions about how to move forward.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, Mr. Greason.
This $5.3 million on the park doesn't include the $1.8 million we spent on land, and the job was awarded with one bidder for the $5.3 million project. So,
any other comments?
and also, we've been waiting 18 years for tennis courts. I hope nobody's in a hurry.
One other thing I want to raise about the importance of this proposal that we have before us tonight is it would prepare us with a full master plan for this phase 2 of the Heritage Farm Park, which would mean that we are shovel ready for grant opportunities. And even though we can't probably get money from state legislators or from the federal government, and probably not even from the county, there are specific recreation focus grants, like the prestigious Part F grant, which Mr. Bruce referred to, and there are some others. But if we have this plan completed and in hand, those are great places to look for funding. Thank you.
Other comments, discussion?
So this proposal is supposed to give us the design. This is prepare master plan, Heritage Park plan update. It says here, consideration approval of McGill Associates proposal for Heritage Farm Park Phase 2 design. So what we're talking about is getting the design. We already have a design. It was laid out with Heritage Farm Park 2 when we first did it. It's sitting on a map for anybody to see. The only difference between what people have said they wanted and what's on the design is there's all tennis courts, and we're suggesting pickleball courts because it's the fastest growing sport in the United States. So the design's there. The land was prepped. It's already flattened out. It's ready to go. Shovel ready. That's about as shovel ready as you can get. So what we need to do is we need to move forward. Notice the commentary here. There's noise issues. We need to delay because people are on vacation. We need to wait for the design, good estimates and everything. Folks, we just got to move forward. You know, we're not talking about doing anything but just getting information. You know, waiting 9 months for a survey or waiting 6 months for a survey doesn't make any sense. You know, people are on vacation, but I bet you they take these things right here on vacation with them, and they can check, oh, they're asking there's a survey with the town. Maybe I ought to get involved in that. To assume that just because people are on vacation, they're not engaged, how insulting to the voters and citizens of Oak Ridge.
Any other discussion?
I do think there are lots of questions that will be answered by this design and by the survey. For instance, the best type of surface, the need for, if we need any soundproofing, simply the number of pickleball courts and the number of tennis courts. I know some of us might feel like, well, we've got a good idea on that. I may have a good idea. You may have a good idea on it. But we want to know what your ideas are on that. And there are details. A master plan is simply putting it on the map. This is going to add an update to that master plan and create a design. And that is more detail than you have on a master plan.
Okay, any further discussion?
I do want to clarify, just so the council fully understands, that the design is not going to be something that we could put out to bid. So the design, while it will be more detailed than, say, a typical schematic, there would still need to be additional work before we would be able to bid it out.
Mr. Bruce, would we have to do this before we move forward?
Well, I'm waiting to hear what the recommendations from McGill Associates are, and they may have some good advice on the best path forward once we determine.
I understand that, but we're not going to move forward unless the town council says move forward, right?
That's correct.
So if we don't get 3 votes, then this thing's just going to sit and wait.
Well, all we're voting on right now is the design phase, which I believe there is majority support from what I've spoken with all the members of council. So basically, this is going to be designed to give us some idea. I think there are some serious considerations from whether or not the pickleball and tennis courts should be put together, co-located with each other. So these are all questions that I believe we need to have answered, which will give us a good idea of what it will cost to move forward. At that point, once we agree on what the design will be, then council can say, hey, let's move forward with engineering design. And then, of course, once we have an engineering design, if we so feel that we can move forward, we would move forward. So I see, like I said, right at the moment, I don't believe there's going to be a problem approving this design based upon the consensus I've seen so far. So we are moving forward. We're going to get the design. We're going to take a look at the hard issues, like should the tennis courts and pickleball courts be put together? How many of the pickleball courts do we need? What kind of surface we need? And then other parts of the phase 2. There's other pieces that are going to go in the phase 2 part that maybe. At that point, we can decide whether or not we want to carve out some of the issues. Maybe we want to just do the pickleball. Maybe we just want to do tennis courts. Maybe we just do both. Maybe we only do half the pickleball courts. It's information. We're looking to get information. And with information, we can make well-informed, constructive decisions. But we don't have that information. The current plan, based upon the information I've gathered, isn't right. It is probably not the right plan based upon the layout. Putting the pickleball courts and tennis courts together, from what I hear from players, they don't want them together. We don't know how many pickleball courts we need because that plan doesn't even consider pickleball courts. So I think it's imperative that we let this design run its course. I'm fine with running the survey. I don't see the need to delay it. But I think this is what we're looking for. This design will give us the information so we can make informed decisions.
So we're going to pay $10,000 just for a survey
No.
or in a box?
No, if you read the
No design
requirements,
as far as the courts to bid it out. So what are we actually paying for?
we're paying for an overall, if you go through.
I'm just casting the question.
We are.
How much
We're-
are we going to spend on the next phase of design?
The scope includes a site assessment, a community recreation needs survey, design, workshop with stakeholders, and a final conceptual design with cost estimates. That's what we're striving to approve tonight. That'll give us the information necessary to make an informed decision about the next step, whether or not we can afford it, and whether or not we should move forward.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Mr. Bruce, I'm sorry, I was wrong in saying that this would make us shovel-ready, but we would need this information, particularly the updated master plan and the survey results, in order to apply for most grants that we know of.
Certainly the Part F grant.
Okay, thank you.
And earlier on, we had made the conscious decision, we may or may not remember this, we made the conscious decision to separate this into two components, the design phase and the engineering phase. With the design phase, we can make the informed decision about whether or not we want to move to the engineering phase or not. And that's where we stand right now. Further discussion?
Do we ask for a citizen survey for Heritage Farm Park 2 about the two football fields we put in?
We did.
And that was at the top of whose list?
The master plan that we did for Heritage Farm Park in 2020 had, I mean, there's 40 or 50 pages summarizing the survey. So there were dozens and dozens of questions that were asked, and then the design was based on the priorities that emerged from that survey.
And so citizens said we want 2 additional fields instead of sports courts. That came out on top, is what we're saying.
I don't remember exactly what the percentages were. I just know that they were inputs into those decisions.
I thought that was coming from McGill, that they made the suggestion that we get the 2 sports fields.
It's a combination of the survey and the needs analysis that estimated based on our population and existing facilities, what we would be expected to need in the future.
But a needs analysis sounds like not citizens. It sounds like that was something other than citizens.
It was certainly a combination of both.
I just want to add, it was thousands of citizens. It was a great response rate. And one of the things we did then is we did a direct mail print survey to every household in Oak Ridge, and we did online. And of course, certain age groups respond better in one way or the other. So this is a much simpler and much cheaper approach. But cost was also, I remember the discussions about how to slice the project up into 2 phases because it was simply too expensive at the time.
I agree, but it just looks like to me if we'd have built the sports courts the first time, we already had some football fields and soccer fields. We wouldn't even be here at this point because we really don't need the soccer fields at this point, sports fields.
We can Monday morning quarterback a lot, but we're at the point where we want to move forward with considering pickleball, and without a design, we really can't move forward regardless of whether we do or don't have the money. So I think this is one of those things where we need to say, look, let's get the design and let's go. We can pontificate about a lot of things, but I'd like to, if there's no other further discussion, I'd like to call the motion. If there's something else, go ahead.
It's sports courts. It's not pickleball. We're talking about the sports courts, okay? The other thing is the survey, the thousands of citizens that responded to the survey, were those the same thousands of citizens that said to spend $925,000 on Redmond? Just wondering.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay, without anything, let's go ahead and, if no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Everyone's aye? I think so, motion carries. Thank you. Consideration and approval of town salary classification study. Mr. Bruce.
Thank you. In October of last year, the town retained the services of the Piedmont Triad Regional Council to conduct a market analysis of the town's employee classifications. Ann Taylor from PTRC is here this evening to present a brief presentation on the methodology and findings, and then I'd like to follow that up with the manager's recommendation. Over that way.
Thank you. And my name is Ann Taylor, and I'm with the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. We were engaged, I think, in October to conduct a labor market survey to determine how competitive your entry-level rates are when you're recruiting employees. So why do people do this? Why do municipalities do that? They want to make sure that their pay structure is appropriate, the range is appropriate for hiring and moving people through that based on their performance and years of service. To look at external equity, are we competitive? And also we look at the internal equity. Are the positions internally established so that one of the complaints I get sometimes from managers is my employees are making more than I am. So we always try to look at that and make sure that it is equitable. So we provide a report of the most current comparative ratio of your minimums to the market averages, and then a detailed allocation report that includes every employee. And at this time, we are recommending a proportional implementation, and that is a percentage per grade adjustment. There's 5% between your grades. We're recommending a 2.5. This is the area that we used as your competitors: Archdale, Clemens, Eden, Elon, Jamestown, Kernersville, Louisville, Madison, Reedsville, Rural Hall, Somerville, and the comparables. I took a cross-section across the state of municipalities in similar size and population and used that as another point of reference. If you look at this, you can see this is how you were when we looked at it. The top line, I believe, is your current minimum, and the darker blue line shows the market average at minimum. Overall, you were at about 92% of the market, I think, when we looked at it. So then we are making recommendations for adjustments to the grade assignments. And now it shows we tried to get every position as close to 100% of the market. So implementation of this puts you at about, I think, 99.7% of the market average. That means you're not the highest, you're not the lowest, but we want you to be in a position, or think you want to also be in the position to recruit qualified people and to retain the good qualified staff members you currently have. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. And what are you asking us to do tonight?
In your packets, there are several tables that are deliverables in the report that Ann just mentioned. There's a sheet that shows the data on the graph there, the comparative ratios at our minimum salaries. We also have a sheet that shows our current pay plan, as well as recommended adjustments to position classifications on the pay plan, and a third sheet that shows new allocations showing the impact on actual employee compensation with a 2.5 increase per grade change. The overall recommendation from a budget perspective, roughly $18,000 in additional compensation with benefits. The total budget impact comes to $22,933 for adjustments to 11 positions.
So if we approve that, that will implement the pay adjustments?
That's correct.
Okay. We can either start with a motion or we can start with discussion. What's your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve it.
Second. There's second? Discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
How do we deal with the adjustment to the town manager's salary?
I'm excluding that from my recommendation. I leave that up to council's discretion.
Can we choose to include it? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you just said that, sorry. I would like to do that. I don't know if Mr. Greason would accept a friendly motion to include the town manager's salary as well.
I'd like to wait on that until the next meeting, if possible.
I would agree. I'd like to have discussions on that.
Okay, friendly amendment was denied.
Okay. I just want to point out that a 2.5% pay per grade adjustment doesn't even move our staff to the same places in their classifications. So it's only a partial acknowledgement of where they should be. But that's consistent, I think, with a cautious, conservative approach that we take to budgeting here. But it's definitely a counterbalance to what this survey really tells us about the market. We're only partially, but importantly, acknowledging the realities here. And also, I want to point out that this isn't about merit. This is only about market realities and a proposed adjustment. Each of our staff members deserves full consideration for a merit increase this year as well. Otherwise, we simply get further behind. And key to this is that our staff members are fantastic in their service to this council and most importantly to the residents of this town. And they are key to every good thing we accomplish here in Oak Ridge.
I concur that our staff is well-deserving. As with any pay study, the range doesn't mean that you automatically should get in the middle of the range. The range just says that if you're somewhere in the range, we're being competitive. Each employee, of course, is evaluated by our town manager, and the town manager is the one that makes the recommendation for any merit that the employees receive. The only employee that we get to evaluate directly is the town manager, so that's why I'm perfectly fine with putting his adjustments separately. That's a separate discussion that council should have. The discussion about what each employee deserves is the town manager's responsibility. We approve the budget he's allowed to execute. He's allowed to apportion that budget any way he sees. But like I said, the main reason to have ranges is the key word is a range. If you're somewhere in that range, we're being competitive. Just to automatically try to put someone in the middle of the range, I think defeats the purpose of the range. So that's why I think the range is a tool that the town manager can use to make sure he's being competitive with this. So if there's no further discussion.
One more thing. I will vote for this, but I do think that I'm worried that a future consideration of the town manager on his own will sort of veer off into merit rather than the discussion we're having tonight, which is not about even though I said we have great staff members, it's not about the people in the position. It's about the pay ranges that these positions should be in. And therefore, I continue to think that we should give the town manager position the same consideration in terms of adjustment to market realities that we're giving to every other position.
You know, I'm not against Mr. Bruce getting a raise, but this wasn't in our discussion for tonight, what we were going to do. So I would rather address it at the next meeting. I don't think we're going to delay it a month. So that's
Any further discussion?
So Mr. Bruce and I have had this discussion, but I'll ask so the citizens hear it. The move in the range, all of our employees are still within the new range. We're moving the range from here to here, but their pay is still within that range. So it gives that future growth opportunity, but they're still within the range.
That's correct.
So from a market standpoint, we're taking care of our folks. As far as Mr. Bruce, I think we've all recognized the stellar work that he does, but I do think that it's an opportunity for us to have a separate discussion.
And the main reason is we don't have the information readily at hand to have made the analysis of what impact he would have. We'd have to make that analysis at the moment, and I would say if we're going to do that, we should do it separately, just because.
I thought we had it right here on this page. Is that not where it says town manager?
It may be in the analysis, but it wasn't in the bottom number that we would be considered. So the $22,933 doesn't. We definitely could do the math right now, and I'm perfectly capable of doing the math, but we haven't had time to consider that and to fully evaluate the impact of adjusting the town manager's range. We evaluated everyone else, but we weren't going to consider his, so I did not look at his. So I'd like to have time to consider it if we were going to do it. So that's why I'm not in favor of adding it on right here. I don't have a problem. If it was included, I'd be fine with it, but it's not, so let's move on.
I think it's only not included because the town manager didn't want to make a recommendation on his own salary, but we do have the numbers, and when we sat down, at least when I sat down with Mr. Bruce to go over the study that was done, it was included. And the total would be $30,846.39.
I fully understand. No further discussion. Is there, if we're ready, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And there's something on the next page. Approval, consideration, the Veterans Honor Green Phase 2 bid proposal.
Thank you. On March the 21st, the town received 4 bids in response to our RFP for construction of the second phase of the Veterans Honor Green. The lowest responsible bid was submitted by Parker Construction for $72,800. You do have the bid tabulation as well as the resolution of award in your packets. Following the confirmation of the low bid, our landscape architect had a discussion with the contractor and identified a couple areas of cost savings. That value engineered alternative is also included in your packet for a revised total of $66,200. The original design showed some specialty piers that were used to anchor the boardwalk. This is an alternate design that's a little bit cheaper. Our landscape architect fully vouches for the product, thinks that it'll be also respectful of the health of the pine plots, and we shouldn't see any additional concern on the safety of the trees by moving to the alternate design. I do have a lot of numbers in this memo in terms of budget, and I apologize if it can be a little bit confusing, but I wanted you to have the full picture of the budget. Our current fiscal year allocated $50,000 for this project. However, the Special Events Committee has been raising funds all year long, so that number has been changing. The latest figure is $20,180, so that gives us $70,180 in our budget. So you'll notice that's about almost 5,000 over the negotiated bid. However, we are requesting some contingency on the project. The engineer or the landscape architect has requested 10%, and all of that information is included in your packet, and I will defer to council on your preference.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Greason?
No discussion.
Mr. Stone?
The 66.2 is a good number, and I appreciate everyone that worked to get that price down from the 72.8. We talked during the CIP and put a budget together of $70,180. I understand that, you know, any contractor is going to ask for as large a contingency as they can get, but I would respectfully ask that we approve the memorandum at 66,200 not to exceed 70,180. That's about a 6.5% contingency.
Mr. Bruce, would you clarify the contingency is not requested by the contractor?
That's true. The contract with Parker Construction would be for 66.2. The contingency is simply money that's budgeted for the town in case we need to approve any change orders of a minor nature that we wouldn't have to bring those to council for approval.
I just want that clarified. I'm not arguing your
No, I get you.
numbers. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure you understand the contractor is not asking for that.
No.
So, okay.
Yeah.
If you have anything else?
I have a question.
Mr. Harton?
Mr. Bruce, if with this change, if more money were provided by the Special Events Committee or not?
I believe the way Mr. Stone may need to clarify the motion, but it's my understanding that the full budget of $70,180 would include the entire amount of money that the Special Events Committee has raised for Phase 2.
Right.
But if they had more money, would we have to amend this?
If they raise more money,
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, we'd be working with the budget that council approves. So if they raise additional funds, you would have to authorize expending those additional funds.
Ms. Schneider?
Well, this council already, or agreed at our February 12th CIP meeting to allocate, and although we didn't make a budget amendment, which we would need to do tonight, $7,000 in unspent contingency funds from the first phase of Veterans Honor Green. And I'd like to say that none of the contingency was used for that project. And I think part of that is because it was fairly straightforward, although nothing is straightforward. There were problems with stone deliveries and all sorts of things. But I think our staff's oversight of that project and the oversight of Mark Reeves, the designer from Revington Reeves, really kept that project in check. And both of those things will be true of this project as well. However, even with that said, and completing this project is very important, and I don't want it to be slowed down by any small things. I think we should do what we always do, which is to include a 10% contingency budget, contingency in our budget, so it isn't given or signed off to the contractor. And I do think we should make a budget amendment so that we have that extra $7,000 so that we can do the total amount of the $66,200 base revised bid plus the 10% contingency of $6,620, which comes to $72,820.
I'm just not a fan of
Mr. Greason,
contingency.
Mr. Greason, not everyone's had a time to speak. I haven't had my turn.
I guess you're the mayor, go ahead.
And we all take first turns, and then everybody can speak again. Let me reset my train of thought. The contingency is something that would be typically under the town manager's purview to authorize. The contingency plan is used for things that come up that weren't anticipated. You know, you open up a wall in your kitchen and you find out there's a pipe there that you didn't plan on having. So that's where the contingency plan come in. I have no problem with capping the contingency so that we're within budget. Now, I forget, who made the original motion?
I did.
All right, so the original motion does not include any of that adjustment. So if someone wants to have that, we're going to have a substitute motion, or can
Well,
they
those
modify the
actually-
original motion?
Either modify the original motion or vote it down and make a new motion.
All right, so I would recommend before we have any further discussion, if you want to adjust those numbers, that as the original motion maker, you make those adjustments in your motion.
So what are you recommending?
Well, you're suggesting that we actually reduce the contingency so that we're within the budget of $70,180.
Right.
So that would require, somebody will do the math, but we need to cut about $1,500 off of that or something about.
$2,700.
All right, so if you want that to be considered, I would recommend you modifying your motion to include that adjustment.
Okay, so make a motion that, and help me out here, make a motion that we,
I guess you're going to approve the $66,200, but limit the contingency to,
6-point-something%, to $70,180.
Well, wait, that's what he moved the first time.
no, you have to reduce the 6,620.
All right, hang on. It'll be 73. So 66,200.
I think the original motion was clear because he said 6.5% contingency, bringing the total to $70,180.
Did you?
Yeah, that's what he
Okay.
said.
Yeah, it's actually closer to 7. Let me, hang on, let me get the numbers right.
I forget, I did not hear the original numbers, so I apologize.
Half. It would be 6.5%.
Okay.
So the 66,200 plus a 6.5% would be 70,503. So it's 6.35%. So the motion would be to approve the construction at $66,200 with a 6.35% contingency not to exceed $70,180, which is approved in the budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Everyone's had their say, so now if you'd like to have further comments, Mr. Greason?
No comments.
Mr. Stone?
Nope.
Mr. Harton?
Nope.
Ms. Snyder?
I really would prefer the standard 10% contingency for this important project so that we don't get slowed down.
No comment. I'm sorry, Mr. Harton?
I agree with what Ann just said.
Okay.
Well, I just don't see how we're slowing it down. We've approved the money.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay,
No.
I.
No.
Well,
No, I agree with, I say no.
okay. It is the wrong thing to do, so I'll say nay, but I very much support this project.
All right, so it passed 3-2. Okay. Monthly financial report.
Good evening, council.
Sam, it's the day of introduction of that.
Excuse me, wait, hold on. What? Do you want a break? Is that what you're asking? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, last item that had not been introduced before today, is that correct? The last item had not been introduced before today, is that correct?
Which item is that?
Contract you just approved.
No, this is the day of introduction.
This is the day of,
Introduction, it needs a supermajority.
so we'll need a supermajority to pass?
We'd have to pass again at the next meeting.
Oh, okay, so either tonight it has to be a
Change your vote tonight, Mayor.
all right, so it has to either be a supermajority tonight or we have to vote again next month. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
All right.
That would be, it'd have to come back up.
So does anyone, so can we recall the matter?
Usually, the person who voted against it would do that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Someone, one of the members who voted against it would need to move to reconsider,
So we either need to wait until next month
or wait till next month and vote again, and then a simple
or
majority.
get a supermajority tonight.
I make a motion to reconsider to go back to 10% contingency.
Second.
No, reconsider
Well-
the motion.
Reconsider the motion.
The same motion.
Same
It would
motion.
be the same, but it
Yes.
would be back up for reconsideration if your reconsideration motion is approved.
Okay, I move that we reconsider the motion.
All right, if there's no discussion, I'd like to call the roll again. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the ayes have it.
And I want to say that, again, I want this project to move forward, so.
Okay.
Mr. Harton, how did you vote on that?
No.
Oh, you did vote?
No.
I don't
Thank
hear that.
you.
Okay, so it's 4-1. So that's a supermajority, right? 4-1? So we do not need to hear it next month. The project will move forward. Financial report. Thank you, Sam.
Well, that's no problem. We were going to, my esteemed legal colleague was going to send me an email that he was going to have music and a band and all like that for the meeting. Then he realized that April Fool's was not our meeting night. It was another community's meeting night. But I know this is the most invigorating part of the meeting, as we always joke. Everyone should have received a set of financial statements and the finance officer's report. And then the last item I went ahead and handed out to you, matter of housekeeping, is a budget amendment number 3 that I'll discuss at the end. For the financials, for the month, we had a fairly normal month for this time of the year. We had total revenues of $63,727 and expenditures of $159,847. mostly which is under the 6,300 capital expenditures in this month. Net results year-to-date, we are $363,573.42 positive addition to the fund balance, which, given the way the tax revenues come in, we receive up and through January, then it tapers down and expenses stay stable throughout the year. We have total assets of $3.191 million, liabilities of $70,596.86. This doesn't include the debt service for the park construction. Overall, as I said, fairly normal month. The one thing that we did have this month that's somewhat irregular is that we had the long-awaited ARPA finding. Basically, the ARPA procedure, I think, is the best way to phrase it. It's not an audit. It's kind of like an audit, but it's very specific. We had to do this to be in compliance with the federal monies. We got a clean opinion. I attached the 2-page report to the back of the finance officer's report when I sent it out by email. So that has been filed as required with the Local Government Commission. They have that. I received confirmation. It's in their possession, so we're in full compliance. And we are working to keep everything on that rolling right along. There are some regulatory items that we handled this month. We have to have a sam.gov registration. I do not get a commission for that, for the use of my name, but we have got all that paperwork in. Bill's got a copy. We're monitoring. We should be updated within another day or two. We've also worked on quite a few things this month. On our collections, we've got 687834 for March, motor vehicle of 9700, so 166 is coming in on those two items. Sales and property tax, we received interest, franchise taxes, the telecom services, video program, and electric power and natural gas all came in. We had facility rental, special events, user fees, tap fees, water usage fees, and donations to the Veterans Honor Green Phase 2. We're watching our investments at depository banks, and then the grant compliance I've already touched on, the ARPA procedure I've already touched on. As part of our work that we do on reviewing each segment, our capital project on the main budget has a section for the park, a section for administration and other things. We went through and one item that I discovered that we had an oversight on when we started this year, the security camera project was authorized and started under the June 4th, I believe it was, 2024 meeting. We had some issues with some of the items being bored and done, so it got stretched out and it patched over into this year with some additional items. We got that wrapped up around the 1st of November. So what I've got before you is adjustment like for the Veterans Honor Green, the main construction of it. Since it laps over and it's not in a capital project fund, I do ask for authorization to make this as a budget amendment. This is amending the 24-25 budget for this item that was in the 23-24 budget, and as of the legal cutoff was not completed and the funding expired. So this is, basically we didn't spend the money out of fund balance, or excuse me, not fund balance, actually this is coming $70,000 out of county grant money that was received a year ago, February. So this is simply reestablishing this in this year's budget to clean up my books, basically. And then we've got a grand total of $71,559 was the amount you voted on, and the actual expenditure is just a hair under that. We're about, what was it, Bill, about $1,500 roughly under budget. But this encompasses all 4 vendors that were involved in that project with several different invoices and different items.
Go ahead, Mr. Stone.
So let me understand, Sam. So we need to amend the 24-25 budget
Yes.
to address the 23-24 spend on security?
Well, it was an authorization in 23-24, but the actual spend did not come until after the year had changed over.
But that would be, that's kind of the motion, though, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
As long as we're talking about that, why don't we go ahead and get that motion out of the way before we forget what we have to do?
Sounds good.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor with this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And then we need to approve your finance report. And then there's a motion to approve the finance officer's report.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Anything, did we miss anything?
That's it.
Thank you, sir.
That's all the
Thank
most
you, Sam.
fun-filled evening event.
Okay. We're going to hear the committee reports, but after the committee reports, we're going to take a quick recess? Yeah, recess. Yeah. So committee reports, Conservation Easement. I don't believe they met. Special Events Committee.
Patty's at the beach. I'm Courtney Harton. This report is from the meeting March 13th. Veterans Honor Green, 5901 Pepper Road, I forgot about that. The Veterans Honor Green, the third paver order was placed, and they should be ready in about 4 to 6 weeks. Thank you to the Town Council for the approval tonight of the construction bid for Phase 2. According to Bill, the project should start early in May or June and be completed in 60 days. Memorial Day ceremony. The ceremony is scheduled for Monday, May 26th at 10 a.m. at the Veterans Honor Green. Town Council chambers have been reserved in case of rain. The Oak Ridge Baptist Band and the Scouts are scheduled and will be, the committee's working on a speaker for that day. Sue Madison has been working on a special events QR Square to be included with all Veterans Honor Green media information. That's that funny little symbol that you can scan with your phone. The code will direct folks to the Oak Ridge website, which details Veterans Honor Green pictures and paver information. Thank you.
Thank you. Tree Board, I don't believe it's met. Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Mr. John.
Good evening, Council. Happy spring. My name is John Browning, 8024 Linville Road. Here to give the activities report for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. We held our meeting on the 20th of March in Zoom and in person. Brock Dunnigan, as always, and his staff continues to do a great job keeping everything looking good at all the parks. He reports the playgrounds have been remulched. The trails, they're working on remulching them, and then they're going to remulch the rest of the park, again, just to keep things looking good for us. Our continuing public service announcement, all dogs should be leashed. There are signs that indicate that, and that's a park town ordinance plus a Guilford County ordinance. I know at the farm park, you would think you may could let dogs run free, but they should be on the leash just to protect the owners and everybody else that has dogs or everybody. So please keep your dogs on the leash. Brock has chosen a company to make repairs at the asphalt sidewalk at the River Birch. It's become a little bit of a safety issue, so I think that should be an ongoing or a project that moves forward pretty soon. He's gotten some quotes on that, another request for money from the council, but hopefully we can get that sidewalk repaired down there. He's also gotten quotes for a security fence at the inclusive playground. Our concern was sometimes kids will run out from the playground to the parking lot, so a fence would prevent that from, hopefully prevent that from happening, plus a fence around the garage. Again, as funds become available, we think those are two good areas that we could afford to put some fencing there. We are excited to have chosen our frozen treat vendor for the park, and that's To the Moon and Back Frozen Treats, a good local company. The Albrecht family's been great, and so we've chosen them to be our frozen treat vendor at the park for all the park events. Moving on along, the Farmhouse Community Center, just working on a punch list, and we still, I think the parking lot needs to be paved and the landscaping as well, which I know y'all are going to talk about. But we're hopeful to have a grand opening sometime in May, and we've already kind of scheduled Music on the Lawn the last Sunday in August and September. So it'll be August 31st and September 28th, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, just some laid-back music there at the farmhouse, August 31st and September 28th. We are all looking forward to and all set for our Music in the Park. Again, as always, it promises to be a good, fun event. We've got 6 events coming up, with the first event being April 12th. Brother Pearl is going to be the band, our first band starting out. And I'd like to take a minute just to mention our sponsors, because without them, we couldn't run this show. So Combs Custom Homes, Oak Ridge Commons, Domino's Pizza, Oak Ridge Craft and Vine, Romelia Siegel, and Health Team Advantage. So again, we're looking forward to another fun year with our Music in the Park. And we do have coming up this Saturday, April 5th, Spring Arts and Crafts. That's always a good show. And then April 26th, Canine Capers. So again, things are taking shape and looks to be a busy spring and summer, hopefully, at the park. So any comments or questions?
Nope. Thanks. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Great, thank you.
Finance Committee?
May I add that on Canine Capers,
Oh,
I have
tree-
raffle tickets.
All right. Tree Board, do you have a report? I apologize.
I have a brief report. I wanted to just add an update to John Browning's mentioning of the paving of the sidewalk. Brock informed me that he's chosen AAA paving to repair the sidewalk in the town park alongside the river birch trees on the west side of the playing fields, and that work is scheduled for the end of April. Our committees continue to update our treasure tree registry with replacements for species that have been removed or new contenders that have recently come to light. The most recent ones are a red cedar, pignut hickory, and sweet gum from 2 different locations. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for overlooking you. Finance Committee, I don't think we have much to report. The Finance Committee will be meeting this coming Monday night. The meetings are open. Finance Committee basically goes through a line by line of our budget. So if you're interested in what's going in the budget and what the budget numbers mean, I would encourage you to attend the meeting Monday night at 7. Water Advisory Committee, anything to report from there? I don't believe.
They
Okay.
did not meet, but they'll be meeting on April 23rd.
Okay. Historic Preservation?
They didn't meet.
Oh, there's someone
Oh, they
jumping up,
did
though.
meet. Okay.
Good evening, Barbara Engel, 8524 Rosedale Drive. The Historic Preservation Commission held a special called meeting on March 5th, 2025. The HPC approved a COA for the construction of a fence at 8511 Merriman Farm Road. Elections were held for the chair and vice chair. Debbie Schoenfeld was voted as chair, and Barbara Engel was voted vice chair. We are in the process of reviewing the contract for printing the historic Oak Ridge book. Any questions or concerns?
Thank you as
Do
always.
we have any time frame on that?
Pardon?
Do we have any time frame when it's going to be for sale?
Sandra.
Well, maybe we'll have it for this Christmas.
September.
It'll be ready
possibly.
for Christmas.
Planning and Zoning? Anyone from Planning and Zoning? Board of Adjustment? The Board of Adjustment did meet, and they held a case, and I don't know if we want to add any details on that.
The Board of Adjustment dismissed an appeal over an enforcement officer decision.
Okay, thank you. Mountain to the sea. I see someone. Ooh.
I hope that hadn't happened on the trail.
Getting old is not for the weak. Stephanie Farrell, 5839 Billet Road. The Mountains to the Sea Trail Committee met in person on Tuesday evening here at the Town Hall. We reviewed the work that was completed on the trails during a workday held earlier in March. The Headwaters Trail is in great shape, and maintenance work on the trail has been completed. The MST Committee was very excited to learn that the town of Oak Ridge has acquired an easement at the scuba shop for a small parking lot and trailhead. This means that work can be finalized on the trails on the eastern side of town that run behind Carriage Cove and Pemberley Estates. During the meeting, we discussed work that was needed to build a new trail from the new parking lot easement to the existing trail. A workday was held the next day at the site to complete that work, and in addition to clearing the new trail, 33 trees were cleared off of the existing trail. The new trails are beautiful and a much different experience than the Headwaters Trail. We're especially proud that the trail will feature 4 bridges built by local scouts for their Eagle projects. We look forward to the completion of this new trail system and celebrating with the community at the later date. In other news, committee members Ann Steele and Martha Pittman and our MST task force leader Joel Deaton attended the MST Friends of the Gathering held in the Outer Banks in early March. Both Joel and Ann were recognized at the gathering for having more than 75 hours of volunteer time for the MST during 2024. Finally, the MST committee will be holding 2 work days in April, one on Saturday, April 12th, and the other on Wednesday, April 30th. We welcome anyone who would like to come and join us. In addition, we'll also be manning an information table at Canine Capers, so stop and see us there, because dogs love trails. And finally, the MST committee's next meeting is scheduled for April 22nd here at 6 o'clock here at Town Hall. Are there any questions?
It's a major, major accomplishment to get that parking lot.
Thank you to
And
Bill
it's to
Bruce.
Bill
Yes,
Bruce's
and his
perseverance.
dedication. Absolutely.
You know, he kept on digging away at it, so it's a major big deal. It's a big deal.
Very excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to recess for about 5 minutes to do what we do in recesses. like to call us back into session. At this time, we'll have our second. At this time, we'll have our second public comment. Again, if there's going to be several speakers from the same topic, I'd encourage you to maybe line up. And you have your 3 minutes. State your name and address, and the floor is yours. Yes, sir.
Eric Strimple, 8201 Banneker Road, Oak Ridge. We're going to talk about pickleball.
Okay.
How many of y'all play? Let's be honest. Okay, so the noise factor? Nah, there's no noise factor. This discussion tonight reminded me, how many of you watch NBA? Not a fan, I'm a retired fire captain. Allen Iverson. Years ago, him and Larry Brown had we talking about practice? We talking about practice? Well, tonight we're talking about pickleball. You spent $5 million on Heritage Park. You spent almost $900,000 on this little house over here, and we can't get pickleballs? I know you can find it in the budget to do it. You have the fastest growing sport in this nation right now. I'm sure you all heard Bed Bath & Beyond. They're old, they went out of business. There's a company out of Arizona that is renting, or going to sublet all Bed Bath & Beyonds, and they're going to put in 15 to 20 pickleball courts inside. But Stokesdale has pickleball courts. I would scrap I've been here since 2002. I'm like you. I didn't know we were supposed to get tennis courts. You got a great park over here. But all that people do is walk. You need something for the older people to do. They like pickleball. That's the deal. That's the game. Are people allowed to donate? If somebody wanted to donate pickleball courts, is that allowed? If somebody said, I'm going to give you $1 million to put in pickleball courts. I know you all can't talk, but is that something that somebody could do? I mean, would that be under consideration? Guys and gals, let's get some pickleball courts. If we keep waiting, I'm 66 years old. I'd like to have some pickleball courts by the time I'm 70. I mean, come on. If it's budgeted, let's go with it. Try to figure out something. Y'all are a good group. I just hope you can come along with some pickleball courts for us senior citizens, I guess is what they call us now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak?
Diana Garrison again, Oak Ridge Landy. With all due respect, we sat here listening to whether to talk about tennis courts, pickleball courts. Does the city manager deserve a raise? When we have a very serious issue before you, it affects everybody in Oak Ridge. Against why have a new pipeline? It's about our lives and the citizens here. It affects the whole town. So please, City Council, think about how serious this issue is, and just a no resolution. Please help us with the no resolution. You talk about the pickleball courts or the tennis court, but if a new pipeline goes in, there might be not enough people here to play pickleball. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deborah Zambala, 6698 Currington Drive.
You can pull down the mic to make it a little bit easier for you.
Short people. I'm here this evening asking for the Oak Ridge Town Council for their help. You were elected to uphold the Oak Ridge Town mission statement, which begins, Oak Ridge is a safe and livable community. The help I'm requesting is that you uphold keeping Oak Ridge a safe and livable community. The Transco Williams Southeast Supply Enhancement Project is a threat to keeping Oak Ridge safe and livable. There have been many examples or many items here listed by several people here about what the critical impact that this pipeline will have. I would like to add a couple more. After a blast, the residents have 30 seconds to evacuate. This would demolish the entire Stonehenge community, okay? In addition to that, the areas that are impacted within a 3-mile radius is the Oak Ridge Elementary School, the Oak Ridge Military Academy, the Methodist Church on 150, the Presbyterian Church on 150, any resident within 3 miles of the blast, the Oak Ridge Town Center, the Oak Ridge Town Hall, the Oak Ridge Post Office, and all the establishments that are core to Oak Ridge. They talked about the soil and water contamination, okay? The one thing that wasn't mentioned was that the new jobs resulting from the expansion will be given to non-locals. My concern is that if there are non-locals, will they be vetted, okay? So that dangerous individuals are not allowed to work in communities with our citizens, namely the elderly, children, and all Oak Ridge citizens. The cost of the new pipeline is to be passed on to Duke customers, okay? However, the consumers will not benefit from the gas, as this gas is planned for 2 new data centers. Therefore, Oak Ridge customers will be paying for something where they may very well receive no benefit. I am a Christian, okay? There are 2 main commandments: love for God and love for neighbor. We are neighbors, okay? It bears, in love of neighbor, it bears responsibility.
Yeah, your time has expired.
Pardon me?
Your time has expired.
You want to yield your time?
My name's Joe Cimbala, 6698 Carrington Drive, Oak Ridge. And I'll yield my 3 minutes if you can give her 30 seconds longer.
We don't typically do that.
Okay, well then I'll finish reading. What she was about to say was, the greatest 2 commandments for Christians are love for God and love for neighbor. In love of neighbor, it bears responsibility by those who could provide it. Safety. We're requesting that the Oak Ridge Town Council, as our neighbor, to please keep us safe. In conclusion, we're requesting the Oak Ridge Town Council to pass a resolution against the new pipeline and move the resolution forward to the Guilford County Commissioners, requesting their support in moving the resolution forward to the governor. Should this request be completed, then the residents and voters of Oak Ridge can rely on you to keep them safe and protected. And I just want to make a quick comment because I have a few seconds. When I was doing research on this new pipeline coming through, I realized, and I kept coming up with the same conclusion, we have a major problem with the existing pipeline that's running through the pathway. The existing pipeline is over 70 years old. Pipelines normally last 50 years. Why isn't the council doing something on this current old pipeline to get it remediated, to get it replaced? Instead of rubber stamping this huge pipeline, why don't we leverage it? Leverage it to get remediation of this old pipeline, get something done. It needs replaced. We're way past the 50-year mark. Safety. So I'm just asking you, the other point I want to make is there are what's called, and I did a little bit of research, HCA, high consequence areas. To me, Oak Ridge is a high consequence area. When that old pipeline was put in 70 years ago, there was only a couple thousand people in Oak Ridge. Since that time, Oak Ridge just grew around that pipeline, and there's almost 8,000 people now. We're greatly impacted. So we have an opportunity to leverage this monster pipeline to get Williams, Transco, to do something with this old pipeline that's ready to fail any week, at any moment. My concern is the current pipeline that's in there now. It's fragile, it's brittle, it's going to fail. We all know it. What are we doing about it? What I don't know is,
Your time has expired. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brenda Cheney. I'm at 5811 Billet Road in Oak Ridge. I own a small horse farm at the end of Billet Road. This pipeline is going to cut right through my horse pastures. It's going to take out my front pasture, my side pasture, make them unusable. I do need you to know that besides my horse farm, I also own 4 other homes in Oak Ridge, and I own a business at Oak Ridge Commons. So I'm definitely vested in Oak Ridge. I've been up here several times to speak with you. I have spoken to the Guilford County Commissioners. I will say they were more receptive. I have been here several months. I have watched person after person stand up and say they're against this pipeline. I have given you pictures. I have given you packets of data showing you the very poor safety record that this company has. But what I have not seen is any action. I hear all the millions of dollars we're spending on parks. We're not asking for any money. We're not asking you to legally do anything except pass a resolution that says you actually back your people. Telling me that it's not your purview is not correct. Telling me that you think they know what they're doing, Williams Pipeline, is not correct. We need our council members to actually show that you care about us and stand behind us. All we're asking you to do is just pass a resolution and say no. Thank you.
Chuck Salmon. I live at 8505 Merriman Farm Road, Oak Ridge, North Carolina. I got several different issues I want to address here, so excuse me for not looking at you in the eye, because I need to read my notes, make sure I don't forget anything. I'm opposed to McGill Engineering designing any more park projects, as evidenced by the stagnant water ponding next to the paved walkways throughout Heritage Park. They didn't allow for positive drainage. There's no pipes underneath the water, underneath the walkways, and none of that was addressed or caught evidently by the contractor that performed the work, or for whatever reason, they weren't put in. I disagree with respectfully disagree with Councilmember Snyder's comment that this council doesn't waste money, as evidenced by the exorbitant amounts continuing to be spent on converting a dilapidated house into a community center. I support sending out surveys as soon as possible on the park plan as well as the pipeline, so that we can get pickleball courts and that we can get some resolution from this council on the pipeline. I support council agreement without the constant bickering on such small items like a $2,700 difference in a contingency fee that you all disagree on, and yet on the Vets Honor Green, but yet you come together and vote for it all together anyway. So you can get along. I also support the council addressing large issues that affect the entire community, like this pipeline, proposed pipeline, instead of just sitting on your hands and doing nothing after month after month after month when people come and talk about it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cameron Ligon. I live at 9005 Sedgwick Way. And I also own a business here in Oak Ridge for 11 years now, and it is a children's dance and performing arts studio, and I have over 400 families that come through our doors weekly. And surprisingly, I sent out some information about the pipeline to them, and do you know hardly anybody even knows it's happening? And I'm just going to be frank for a minute. It's really frustrating, and honestly, it's offensive to sit there and hear you guys for almost 15 minutes argue over pickleball courts, but you can't stand behind your citizens enough to put that information out there so that people know this is coming and they can make a decision and they can be surveyed about whether they want it or not. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Claire Spear, 2410 Timber Oak Drive in Hillsborough. So as the culmination of tonight's many comments, as well as the past 5 months of calls, emails, conversations, and public comments right here by community members who have been working to engage you all around their concerns about this pipeline project, tonight, those of us who are still able to be here and didn't have to leave stand together to present the mayor and the council with a resolution of opposition to SSEP. We also bring you a petition, which is 17 pages of signatures and many personalized comments by people who are asking you to leverage the weight of your voice to hold Williams-Transco accountable. This resolution was drafted with the help and skill of Oak Ridge resident Deborah Simbala, who you've heard from tonight, and is just one example of how willing the people in your community are to engage with you on their concerns and to advocate for how they want the future of their community to be shaped. We ask you to read the resolution as well as the messages written by those who signed the petition and to take a vote at next month's council meeting. Put it on your agenda to take a vote on adopting this resolution or an otherwise agreed upon version of it. I will hand off the 6 copies of each document, but for the benefit of those in this room and watching online now or in the future, I'd like to read a key portion of the resolution. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved by the Oak Ridge Town Council that in consideration of the concerns shared above, that the Oak Ridge Town Council is recorded as being opposed to the Southeast Supply Enhancement Project entering and being installed in Oak Ridge. 1, Oak Ridge Town Council has heard the concerns of the citizens owning property impacted by the proposed pipeline and resolves the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to take into consideration the protection of domestic water sources, wells, springs, and water bodies, public safety, residential developments, and property values. And 2, Oak Ridge Town Council urges Williams to thoroughly investigate any and all no-build alternatives to this pipeline expansion project and to present their full investigative findings to FERC. And 3rd, in the event that this project moves forward, Oak Ridge Town Council urges Williams-Transco of the Southeast Supply Enhancement Project to fully and fairly compensate all property owners affected by any pipeline construction activity in accordance with the law set forth in Chapter 40A of the North Carolina General Statutes. And with that, I will hand these off. I don't remember who I hand them to.
The town clerk.
Okay, Town Clerk Sandra, thank you very much. And I ask you to please, again, take time, actually read and listen and digest what people are saying to you and asking you for. I'm happy to also be a point of contact if you want to change anything about the resolution. I can work with you on it. The community here will work with you on it. They want to engage, so please work with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
I want to say something.
Up to the mic, could you come to the microphone, state your name and address?
Hi. Sherry Lingefelt, 5427 Union Grove Road. I just want to ask you guys to send a survey. If you care so much about the pickleball courts and all of the sports equipment and whatnot, send a survey about the pipeline. That's what we care about. My generation, our children growing up here, we care about their safety, and it's going to impact us the most. Please send a survey about the pipeline.
If there's no one else wishing to speak, I'll close out the public comment session and move to council comments. Mr. Greason.
No comments.
Mr. Stone.
No comment.
Martin. Oh, please. Decorum, please. Please. Please.
My emotions got ahead of me. My apologies.
Please. Mr. Harton.
No comment.
Ms. Snyder.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know several of you, and I have great respect for you. But I have to respectfully disagree. This is outside our purview, and I know that there have been stories about other resolutions affecting other pipeline projects, but the only one I've heard of is a pipeline that wasn't built at all. This is one with an existing easement, putting another pipe into the existing easement. But beyond that, I did my research also, and I've been doing it for months, trying to learn more, listening to you, but also talking to other people. I want to encourage everyone to look at Williams' website, to talk to your state legislators, because many and to other members in the community, because many of the members in this community, as important as what you've all said, there are many people who take a different approach to this. And they don't typically come and speak up because, you know, we usually hear from people who are against something. And I know you are also for us taking action, but I will not vote for a resolution to oppose the pipeline. And here's why. I live in one of the pipeline neighborhoods, 12 Oaks, and I've talked to many of my neighbors, and they all feel that it's been well maintained, they're happy with it, they don't have a problem with it. Some have told me they know that Williams monitors the existing pipeline very carefully. Everyone I've spoken to has said that they have no problems with it. Many also say how important natural gas is to all of us here in North Carolina. So sure, the new pipeline that's being proposed won't serve our homes and businesses, but the pipelines that serve our homes and businesses go through someone else's neighborhood, someone else's town. So how else can we get natural gas to provide the energy that we need for our growing state? So in response to that, a majority of our state legislators have signed a letter indicating their strong support for this pipeline. The bipartisan North Carolina Chamber of Commerce and the North Carolina Ag Partnership also support the pipeline. And there was a survey done, there was an article about it in the News and Record saying 70% of residents in the area support the pipeline. So one of the things I've heard is that if we don't have natural gas for our growing economic and workforce energy needs here in North Carolina, we go back to coal. Now, probably most of you are folks who don't like the idea of coal, but we need more energy, and natural gas is clean energy. So from my perspective, so long as we don't lose our state's unique identity, growth is a good thing, and the point of fact, it's actually happening. So there's good or bad, our state is growing by leaps and bounds, and building the energy infrastructure that we need to support that growing population is essential. It strengthens our communities and provides jobs our residents want. I was asking someone about the danger of blasts, and I heard about, so I don't know much about this, these tank farms over near the airport. Those will blow us all out. We can say anything can explode, but those are far more dangerous from what I've heard in terms of the so-called blast zone.
Please, please, please.
It's a different kind of gas. Thank you. But reach out to Williams and reach out to your state legislators. Ask them why they're supporting it and what they're doing to address your concerns. Because when I asked Williams, I got a lot of information and I found it very helpful. So I know change is scary, especially in our backyard, but change is part of the growth in our state. So I also want to say a couple things. Thanks to the 100th Anniversary Committee at Oak Ridge Elementary. I'm so proud of our support for that and for the upcoming Oak Ridge Horse Show. And I'm so excited about Canine Capers. And I want to remind everyone that the National Day of Prayer will be observed, I guess is a better word, on May 1st at the First Baptist Church of Summerfield at 12 p.m. And please also come to our Memorial Day observance, and there will be a Flag Day observance on June 14th, organized by the Guilford Battle Chapter of the DAR at 10 a.m. in our amphitheater. Thank you.
Okay, a couple little things, and then I'll have some comments about the pipeline. To the Frog Pond, as we call it, that's the area I think you were referring to where the water collects. They are, the contractor has been held responsible for that. They will be doing some supplemental grading to deal with that. The original plans were not adhered to, and that's what we're forcing them to adhere to. So I don't have any problem with McGill's design. It was a matter if the contractor did not follow directions, basically. So at their cost, they're going to resolve that. Definitely, the leash law, as much as it seems silly, we've had some altercations with residents that do not have their dogs on leash. The one thing I'm going to say is disrespecting any of the park employees or disrespecting any of the residents will not be tolerated. If you are disrespected by someone that's not have their dog on a leash, please call animal control. And if you feel physically threatened, call 911. We've had some unfortunate occurrences, and like I said, we will not tolerate that. I'm all for pickleball, but we need to make sure we do it right. As I mentioned, the county over at Burr Mill is looking to spend $500,000 to renovate the pickleball courts they put in. We need to do it right, and that's what we're going to do there. As to the pipeline, I'm not exactly all the way there, but the biggest thing I would like to see them do is something they're not going to do, which is an environmental impact study. They're going to do, I forget exactly what they do, but they're basically going to do a review. And that review will be over, I believe, in February. I may have the months and dates a little bit wrong, but basically there. So I would definitely be very much in favor of encouraging to do an environmental impact study. My biggest concern is we've had a lot more input on the pipeline than we've had on pickleball. And yet we have not decided to have a full discussion on the topic. I understand that there probably isn't 5 votes, even there's probably maybe only 1 vote up here that would seriously consider the resolution. But I believe, out of respect for our residents, we should have a full discussion on it. And then from that, we can act on it. I don't know if I have more than 1 support for that, but I would encourage us to have a full discussion, possibly next month, on what quite a number of residents have done. In fact, they've done a petition. If you look at the petition, there's quite a number of Oak Ridge residents that want us to take a look at this. I don't believe it's going to change any minds up here. I have no expectation that the vote would ever change. But I think we, out of respect for all the residents, I think we probably should have a full discussion. Like I said, I don't know if I have enough support to put that on next month's agenda or not, but I would encourage at least 1 other member of council to say, hey, let's have a discussion. I have no expectations that they'll change their minds, but I believe if this many residents are concerned about it, we should take some time and have a discussion about it. With that, the biggest thing I always try to remind people is blood. The second Monday of every even month, the Methodist Church has a blood drive. I am not a member of the Methodist Church, but the reason I mention it is because every 2 months they have a blood drive, and I can always mention it. But there's many, many blood drives around here. As far as loving your neighbor, that's something you can do where you can save 3 lives by donating. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.